Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Ironclad Irrefutable Evidence Seminar Series. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and share this program. This is a critical issue related to the well-being and security of each individual, every community, and the entire society. Thank you very much for your attention and support. My name is Wang Zhiyuan, and I'm the Director and Chief Investigator of the World Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong, WOIPFG. Mr. Lu Shuheng is a resident of California. He called into the program during a live streaming in September 2016, when Sound of Hope invited me to talk about the U.S. 343 proposal to demand an end to the live organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners. When he was on the phone, he expressed his wish to provide some information about the CCP's crime of live organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners. On October 2, 2016, Mr. Lu came to the Sound of Hope studio and sat with Mrs. Gao Jie, a program host, to talk about how his relatives participated in the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners and the organized crime of live organ harvesting. While he was there, I was conferenced in their meeting. What Mr. Lu revealed is shocking, and his disclosure confirms the existence of live organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners in China. Mr. Lu broke silence and valiantly risked his well-being for a great cause. He disregarded threats from a Chinese national security agent to speak up about the tragedy of live organ harvesting. We highly appreciate Mr. Lu Shuheng's great deeds of righteousness against the evil regime. His heroic action will inspire others not to ignore the evilness of that tyranny. We must stand together to call for an end to the persecution and for punishment of the killers. For the sake of his safety, we didn't release this audio until 2020, 4 years after 2016. Let's listen to it.
My name is Gao Jie, a host of Sound of Hope. Today's date is October 2nd, 2016, and it is 9:14 a.m. local time. Mr. Lu is already in Sound of Hope's broadcasting room now. Mr. Lu, thank you for coming here. First, please introduce yourself to Mr. Wang.
Hello, Mr. Wang.
Hello.
My name is Lu Shuheng. I was born in 1950, and I'm a Shanghainese. I watched NTD TV and Sound of Hope programs of organ harvesting several times. I know a bit of their inside stories. However, I didn't do anything because I don't want to be harmed by the CCP when I go back to China. I'm just a green card holder in the U.S., and I still have a house in China. On the other day, when Ms. Gao Jie talked about it again, I felt I couldn't stay silent anymore. I must speak up. Once I become a U.S. citizen and receive the money from selling my property, there will not be a reason to hold me back from telling what I've known.
Understand.
I want to expose that the doctors and armed police force in China work together to harvest organs while people are still alive. I have a brother in China, and his wife's name is Zhou Yu.
Wait a minute. Mr. Lu, do you want to provide some information regarding the CCP's live organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners to the WOIPFG?
Yes.
When did you learn about it?
She told me when I went back to China in 2002.
Okay. Is it your sister-in-law who was involved?
Actually, it is her sister. My sister-in-law's name is Zhou Yu, 62 years old, and her sister Zhou Qing is 64 years old. Zhou Qing was the director of OB/GYN department of the Central Hospital Putuo before she was promoted to be the president of Shanghai Wanping Hospital.
Okay.
Her husband's name is Mao Shuping. I can't remember his exact title before he was retired. Probably the deputy secretary of a party committee or a deputy director of Shanghai Municipal Bureau of Justice. He is deeply connected with Jiang Zeming's follower in Shanghai.
Okay.
I want to start with Zhou Qing's story. I visited my brother's house when I went back to China in 2002, and she was invited to visit her sister at the same time. One day during the dinner, Zhou Qing asked me if I could find some people who look for transplant organs due to organ shortage in the United States. I said my home improvement business had no way to reach those patients. She told me to keep an eye on it, and if I could find someone who wanted to go to China and have organ transplanted, the commission I could earn was much, much higher than what I earned from my business. I asked her what it was about. She then started to talk about kidneys and corneas and kind of things.
Cornea?
And livers.
Did she want you to introduce the American patients to China to do organ transplants?
Yes. I asked her, can you do this type of surgery? She said she used to do it, but not anymore. I asked the reason. She said she had nightmares after doing it. I was surprised on how come a professional surgeon had nightmares after surgery. I thought, as an OBGYN surgeon, she was so great to be able to do transplant surgeries. When we sat together, her husband told me she went to military hospitals to do the transplants and had quickly made a lot of money. He said to me, go to find someone. The quality of all organs is quite good, and every organ is fresh and all alive. I didn't understand what alive meant back then.
Shanghai Wenping Hospital isn't a major surgical transplant hospital, right?
Correct. She didn't do it in her hospital, but went to the armed police hospital to do it. Her husband told me she got paid right after each surgery. The money came in very quickly.
It sounds like the armed police hospital needs some surgeons from other hospitals to come to their facility to do the surgeries.
One reason is they needed more hands, and the other reason is her husband pushed her to go there to earn more money.
So he sent her there?
Very likely. They are very greedy and have made a lot of money.
Could you tell us in detail how he described the fresh organs from the donors?
At that time, I asked, what do you mean by fresh? Her husband said, you know nothing about it. Later, I asked my sister-in-law this question. She said her older sister, Zhou Qing, was so scared that she couldn't do it any longer. When she cut the living person open, that person screamed desperately, and it was horribly painful. I asked her why they didn't use anesthesia. My sister-in-law said Zhou Qing told her some areas were numbed and some are not. Honestly, I didn't think much of it at that time.
Did you ever hear about live organ harvesting while in the United States in 2002?
Not at all. As time passed, more and more media outlets covered this topic, and then I could link those pieces together. 2 to 3 years ago, I asked my brother's wife, does your sister still do it? She said, not anymore, and she warned me not to accidentally say it to other people.
Understand.
She told me not to speak about it, and they didn't want to get in trouble. I have saved some emails, and we used them as evidence. Mr. Wang, I must speak up like you, like what you did on TV programs. I know the government in mainland China and the CCP, and have experienced what they did in China.
Let's go back to what you said a moment ago. The organs must be fresh, and using anesthesia will leave damage in the organ. Is this true?
Zhou Qing said that anesthesia cannot be used everywhere, and some areas cannot be anesthetized in order to keep the transplanted organ fresh and without anesthesia residue. She said they could guarantee the organ quality.
When Zhou Qing cut off organs from the living people, they were yelling loudly.
Yes. They were shouting, Falun Dafa is good, when they were taken to the operating rooms.
Oh, they said Falun Dafa is good.
Yeah, after that, they desperately screamed and yelled in pain. There were armed police guards on each side, and also military doctors, like 3 or 4 people, 4 or 5 people each time.
Did you ask her some more details? Did they tie the person up in bed?
Actually, I didn't think about such detailed things when I was talking to her. Then she said all of the organs were freshly from Falun Gong people.
Okay, Zhou Qing had nightmares after surgery. Do you have more details to share about that?
My sister-in-law said her older sister feels that this type of money is not easy to make and doesn't dare to do it because of having nightmares. Approximately 3 years ago, she began to ask me not to mention organ harvesting.
Was that in 2013?
Yes. Before my mother passed away in 2013, my sister-in-law told me over and over again not to leak it, even back 4 or 5 years ago. She said not to talk about it. They are scared.
It is because live organ harvesting has started to draw worldwide attention. Okay, Mr. Wang, do you have anything to add or any question to ask?
We have a clear picture now. Mr. Lu, it is your brother's wife's sister who harvested organs from living people, who shouted, Falun Dafa is good, right?
Correct. My sister-in-law wouldn't lie to me, and she said when they were taken into the operating room and strapped up on the counter, they were shouting, Falun Dafa is good, and then yelled in pain and shrieked horribly.
Got it.
Mao Shuping is Zhou Qing's husband, and their son-in-law works in the National Security Agency, which specializes in surveillance of domestic and foreign intelligence affairs.
Oh, a national security agency. Has he asked you to do anything like spy on people?
No, he didn't. But Mao Suping, her father-in-law, told me that I could earn a lot more money if I introduced patients to China through doctors whom I got to know from my home improvement business. Most of my business clients are doctors, and after I mentioned this to my sister-in-law, she became interested and told her older sister that I have some connection with American doctors.
Zhou Qing's husband is the former deputy director or deputy party secretary of Shanghai Municipal Bureau of Justice.
Yes, before that, he worked for Shanghai Municipal Prison Administration. Let me add one more thing here. Mao Suping told me when he worked for the prison administration, some detainees were used for experiment. When the higher authority came to get them, Mao Suping asked them to sign some paperwork. They refused. Sometimes he made a follow-up call to confirm the transfer and recorded the conversation to protect them from being liable in the future. He told me this in person.
Do you know what experiment they do on the prisoners?
For some very, very dark business.
Sure.
I think they probably took them away to harvest their organs.
You mentioned when Mao Suping worked in the prison administration, he didn't want to be held accountable for the prisoner exchanges and kept some recordings or other information as evidence.
Yeah.
Do you remember which year it was when he talked to you?
This was probably in 2004. His relationship with Wu Ziming is quite... Do you know Wu Ziming?
Wu Ziming is Jiang Zemin's pawn and nephew. From what Mr. Lu just said, we can tell that some participants know what they did is illegal, and some of them have begun to collect evidence in order to find a way out in the future.
He said that people from Beijing, the central government, came to request prisoner swaps.
Mr. Lu is talking about another thing. The real criminals can be swapped out of imprisonment in the Chinese judicial system.
Yes, this is absolutely true. I told him to be careful with that kind of thing. He said he planned to work in a different department. Soon after, I heard he was transferred to the Bureau of Justice.
Is Zhou Qing's son-in-law still working at the National Security Bureau?
Yes, one time. I said to him, you guys can't arrest anyone without a warrant or evidence. He said those were just trivial things. Then he said, don't say what happened here to others. He wanted me not to say anything about his mother-in-law's involvement in organ harvesting.
Did Zhou Qing's son-in-law remind you?
Yes, it was not just a reminder. Actually, if I put it another way, I have to say he threatened me.
Oh, he threatened you.
Right. He said if someone revealed something, they wouldn't go to take that person down. Instead, they would let the U.S. government send that person back. I said it wouldn't be possible for the U.S. government and the customs to do such things. He said my mind was too simple, and they could hide something like drugs in that person's checked luggage. Once the U.S. government found it, they will send him back. I knew he told me this on purpose. After I heard it, I was shocked by his words and thought, oh, I shouldn't talk about it. But now I can't be silent any longer. I must say it.
The national security agents can do anything to harm people.
He helped his mother-in-law to shut me up. One time I said to Zhou Qing, you are so bold. She said, yes, that's why I can't be a surgeon. The live organ harvesting terrifies her so much that she could not do it. The on-site scene must be too horrifying for a professional surgeon to bear that experience.
Did you think they transfer Falun Gong practitioners to somewhere to do the experiments?
Yes, they, including my nephew, sent them there. My nephew's name is Cui Zhao Sheng, and he is my sister's son. This is what he told me 3 years ago. He said they sent Falun Gong people directly to Pudong holding place after they arrested them. I asked my nephew the exact location of Pudong. He didn't tell me, but said it was for sure. On that day, a female Falun Gong practitioner was sent to their police station and shouted Falun Dafa is good when she came in. He said that in the past, they would first give her a good beating, but they didn't do it anymore and just sent her to Pudong. The person who arrested her got 500 yuan. When my mom was alive, I told her Falun Gong people are good, and she knew the truth. She said to my nephew, no matter what, you can't do this to those people, and you can ask for a leave or something else. He said, I need money to buy a meal, and you have no money for me.
It sounds like they did do it.
My nephew is assistant police officer of a police station in Xuhui District, a precinct where the U.S. Shanghai consulate is located.
Oh, okay.
I asked him that precinct address and wanted to go there with him. He was kind of alarmed and said, "Why do you ask about it? Why are you so interested in it?" I said, "I want to know. You only need to bring me to the address and point at the door to me." He was afraid of some consequences and refused to tell me. He said, "It's none of your business. It will get you into trouble later." He thought his job was just taking orders when they asked him to send people there with other police officers and a driver, and if it was culpable, he was not alone.
Did they escort the Falun Gong practitioners who were arrested to the Pudong Detention Center in Shanghai directly?
Yes. That's what he told me 3 years ago. He said that previously, once Falun Gong practitioners were taken to their police station, they beat them up first, but then they no longer did the beatings and just arrested and transferred them or kept them for a few days and then transferred them. There was no name registration and no police report. When he talked about it, I said, "Do you worry about yourself if you make money like this?" He said, "No record of the transfer and no record of cash payments."
Oh, 3 years ago. That was 2013.
Right, 2013. My nephew's job is to go to arrest Falun Gong people after someone reports their whereabouts and then send them to Pudong holding locations. They do this for money, and indeed, they are only interested in money.
He told you, once they arrested Falun Gong practitioners, they didn't need to do any report and just escort them to Pudong. He did this for money.
Yes, basically, this is what it is. Also, he said they falsify paperwork at the police station. The police officers can get paid after they close a case. In order to finalize a case sooner or close more cases, they instructed other detainees to provide made-up information to someone else's case. For example, they put a new detainee into a cell with old detainees. After a couple of days, the new detainee reported he heard an old detainee say something this or that. A police officer could use the new detainee's statements to close that old detainee's case and then get paid by thousands of yuan, like hundreds of dollars.
They know they do many bad things at the police station.
Yes.
He participated, but he didn't think he was a major actor. He needed money, and he just did that for money.
Right.
They induced a new detainee to provide false evidence to an older detainee's case, so the officer could finalize the old detainee's case and get a bonus pay.
This is what my nephew told me.
Very dark.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lu. I can tell you that you really did a great thing.
I don't want to get anything from what I'm doing. I just want to expose them and put them on trial in the International Court of Justice.
Actually, Mr. Lu, you help save your relatives by doing this. At this time, if they want to be tainted witnesses, they can alleviate their sins. Otherwise, they will all be nailed to the pillar of shame. I want to say this to those who keep some evidence in hand. If you are that smart to keep evidence to protect yourself, you need to present the evidence now, and you can remain anonymous after you provide evidence to the WOIPFG. It will redeem yourself and help others, and also reduce the condemnation of your conscience. If you don't do it now, the evidence will prove further that you are connected and you are guilty.
Mr. Lu, you have done something very meaningful.
I should.
Very great.
Thank you as well. This is what I should do. I should do it.
Now, I'd like to emphasize the following points. 1. Donors were living Falun Gong practitioners. The Chinese Communist Party forcefully harvested organs from living Falun Gong practitioners while they were fully conscious. They were not the brain-dead donors that the Chinese transplant community has repeatedly claimed them to be. The Falun Gong practitioners shouted, "Falun Dafa is good," when they were taken to the operating room. So, first, they were Falun Gong practitioners, not death row inmates. Second, they were able to talk and speak a meaningful sentence, so they were not brain-dead. Zhou Qing, the surgeon and the whistleblower's sister-in-law's sister, mentioned to her family the donors screamed desperately when she excised their organs. This tells us that they were still awake and that she didn't administer anesthetic or gave very little. As a senior surgeon, making surgical cuttings is her daily routine. How terrifying must the scene have to be to make the experienced surgeon have nightmares after surgery and make her not be able to continue? Zhou Qing also mentioned that some areas shouldn't use anesthesia. The less the organ is anesthetized, the better it is for transplantation. Obviously, obtaining high-quality organs is the sole goal for those medical professionals. This is unethical and cruel. Our investigation shows excising organs from Falun Gong practitioners without anesthesia is not only real, but also a common practice in China. 2. They did transplant surgeries in the armed police hospital. Zhou Qing did not perform that type of transplant surgery in Shanghai Wanping Hospital where she worked. Instead, she was sent to Shanghai Armed Police Corps Hospital, which is not on the list of the certified human organ transplant hospitals published by the CCP. This indirectly proves that the CCP's military and police medical systems, whether they are certified or not, are actively involved in the crime of organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners. In 2004, this hospital was named as one of Beacon Hospitals for Excellence. 3. They swapped out the criminals and used the detainees for experiments. Beyond using live organ harvesting to murder Falun Gong practitioners, the CCP is suspected of killing a large amount of Falun Gong practitioners in many other ways as well, such as illegal human experiments and swapping criminals for execution. This warns us that the real number of murdered Falun Gong practitioners is far above the previously estimated number. We will talk more about it in later episodes. 4. They can set up traps to let foreign governments deport whistleblowers back to China. Mr. Lu's relative gave him a good example of what the Chinese national security could do to make a whistleblower end up with deportation. 5. In 2013, the Shanghai government rewarded 500 yuan for reporting a Falun Gong practitioner. After Falun Gong practitioners were arrested, the Shanghai police officers didn't take their names or do police reports, but directly sent them to some secret holding locations at Pudong, Shanghai, and both the persons who reported on the practitioners and the police officers were rewarded. 6. Mao Shuping is a key player of Jiang Zemin's criminal group in Shanghai. When Jiang Zemin was in power, his promotion guideline was that whoever persecuted Falun Gong practitioners had a greater chance to be elected. In order to keep the persecution of Falun Gong as a secret within their inner circle, Mao Shuping was placed in different leadership positions of Shanghai Municipal Prison Administration and Bureau of Justice. There's no doubt that Mao belongs to Jiang Zemin's Shanghai gang. Mr. Lu also said Mao is deeply connected with Wu Zhiming, who was elected as the director of Shanghai Municipal Public Security Bureau in April 2000. Except for this, starting from October 2001, he was a standing committee member of Shanghai Municipal Committee. From June 2002 to May 2012, he also served as the secretary of Shanghai Municipal Political and Legal Committee. Wu Zhiming is Jiang Zemin's nephew. Please continue to watch our next episode, Investigation of the Kidney Broker of the 307 Hospital and the head of Mu Danjiang 610 office. In particular, please note that this is a worldwide unrestricted war without gunpowder. The CCP's crime of live organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners not only continues, but also has spread throughout society. For example, in 2013, a 6-year-old child, Little Binbin, in Shanxi, went missing, and 2 days later was found with eyes gouged out for the cornea. Dozens of university students in Wuhan disappeared for no reason in recent years, and countless children and women go missing every year. Live organ harvesting has become a threat to everyone. Perhaps as we are talking, many kind and innocent people are being put onto operation tables for their organs. And also, many have been detained in dark prisons for many years, and their hearts, livers, or kidneys are waiting to be excised in an indescribably cruel way at any moment. How urgently they need rescue from the outside world. How excruciating it is for their parents, brothers, and sisters to bear the pain of missing their loved ones for years. Live organ harvesting signifies an unprecedented atrocity that has never existed on this planet. We cannot heartlessly ignore the fact that the Chinese Communist Party is ravaging and killing people. We cannot watch the CCP flagrantly destroy the bottom line of morality with lies, coercion, and financial lures that aim to silence and lead the entire human race to fundamental destruction without taking action. We urge everyone to like, subscribe, and spread the word about our program. Let your family, relatives, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and anybody else in your social circle know the facts of the CCP's mass organ harvesting from living Falun Gong practitioners. Please tell the whole world the truth and stand together to put a stop to the CCP's crimes against humanity. Once again, this is a critical issue related to the well-being and security of each individual, every community, and our entire society. Thank you very much for your attention and support. See you next time. World Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong, WOIPFG, was founded on January 20th, 2003. It is based in New York with branches in Europe, Australia, Asia, and Canada. WOIPFG's mission is to investigate the criminal conduct of all institutions, organizations, and individuals involved in the persecution of Falun Gong. To bring such investigations, no matter how long it takes, no matter how far and deep we have to search, to full closure, to exercise fundamental principles of humanity, and to restore and uphold justice in society. The principle of our investigation holds that those who have committed crimes shall be brought to justice. Individuals shall bear the same responsibility for their involvement in their organization's crimes, and those instigating the persecution shall bear the same responsibility of those who have physically carried out the persecution. We intend to uproot state-sanctioned crimes and safeguard human morality. The criminal conduct of all individuals within organizations, units, and departments involved in the persecution will be thoroughly investigated and brought to justice.